it was all in, sort of, because that Julian Edelman podcast you mentioned, so Edelman and Bledsoe said they didn't know Robert Kraft was even coming till the day of. Andrew Schultz, who you brought up, revealed that Brady didn't want any jokes about Robert Kraft. Everyone had kind of came to the agreement that Robert Kraft was off, he was off limits there. And then we saw Jeff Ross right out of the gate go at Robert Kraft. And then we saw Brady in a semi-Will Smith moment, sans a slap, but we saw Brady approach him and say, hey, man, don't say that again. So I found it funny or interesting that we're talking about wives and kids and ex-dead teammates. And, I mean, all this stuff that's being thrown in your face, a cryptocurrency Ponzi scheme, all kinds of nonsense. But all that's okay. But you better not say anything about Robert Kraft. I mean, that felt kind of weird to me from both places. From Brady's perspective, why is everything else open game except him? And then more importantly, from the Robert Kraft perspective, bro, why even show up? Like, do you know what a roast is? If you're gonna show up, right, you got to be able to take the heat that's coming out of the kitchen here. You know the jokes are going to come at you. And look, joke's on you for putting yourself in that position anyways down in Jupiter, Florida. Don't get me started. But I'm just saying, if that's off limits and you don't want that to happen, instead of showing up and dictating, which I imagine he had to have told Tom, no jokes on me, then why even be there? Just don't show up.
Yeah, I hear you, and that makes a lot of sense. I will say, though, a couple of the examples that you had about, the Giselle thing and the Aaron Hernandez stuff, well, neither of those two parties were in attendance, right? So Giselle wasn't there, obviously, or no one connected to Aaron Hernandez was there. Robert Kraft was there, and oh, by the way, Robert Kraft is still the Patriots owner. And Tom Brady is, a minority order with the Raiders, and probably sees himself as maybe a 100% owner at some point. And he knows that Robert Kraft could have a say in that. So that was probably a business decision, too, on Tom's part. In terms of Jeff Ross and the joke itself, it was weak, right? It's like, all right, so you're going to go there. But if you're going to go there and have it be funny. It wasn't even funny. It was just like he said, you want a massage? And and like some people laugh because but like it wasn't even clever. It's just like you got to waste your bullet on that.
Right. Yeah. If you're going to go there, go all the way in. What are your thoughts of Bill Belichick being so humanized lately? Because I got to admit, I love it. From the Pat McAfee show to the roast. I mean, Bill just seems like a cool dude. And for all these years now, obviously, you have been in market throughout the dynasty. You covered the Patriots. You know more than I do. But from the outside, before I got here to this market, everyone said, Bill's actually a really cool dude. You would just never know it because he hates you, the media, right? So then I get here. I did get a chance to cover him a couple years, his last few years before he got fired. And I'm like, all right, he doesn't seem cool to me. He still seems like the ornery guy that I saw on the outside looking in. But now that it's over and he's not coaching, he seems really cool. Yeah, I mean, you and I agree. He was great at the roast. And as I said, even after the Dynasty documentary, which clearly was a mudsling campaign. I mean, they slandered him up and down, and you saw players come out and defend him after that, rightfully so. I think Robert Kraft should be ashamed of that, and he didn't even take ownership of it, even though it's under his production company. But that's another topic for another Foxboro Rush. But I imagine you seeing Bill, the human now, and being fun and smile. I had never seen him smile and laugh more than I did in that roast. I have to imagine that's pretty cool for you, right?
Yeah, and it's funny too. And I think people, conveniently forget that we have seen Bill smile and laugh when it's not in Foxborough, when it's not addressing the media after practice, after a game, or anything related to the Patriots. I mean, we've seen it before. You go back and be like, oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, that's right. He is a human being, but he was sort of like, I don't know, use the analogy of, you never talk to a starting pitcher on the day he pitches, right?
Right.
I mean,
right.
Bill Belichick was basically starting every single day, right? Where he was in a bad mood, he was ornery, he was getting ready for the game, and you never really saw the light side of Bill during the season. But I agree with you. I mean, I thought he did a good job. I thought Kevin Hart, after Bill got on stage, gave him props because it must not have been easy for him to be up there knowing that he was going to get skewered and knowing that he was in front of, all these people who had a certain opinion about him. And most people probably think by now that Tom Brady was responsible and not Bill.
Right.
And he's going up there to that audience in the crowd and the millions of people watching at home. And, the guy who fired you a few months ago is in the audience watching. Ooh. I mean, that can't be easy. That can't be easy to get up and do that. But he had a great sense of humor about it, not only when he delivered his roast, but when he was sitting there and he was hearing the jokes and the Foxboro High jokes that the players were more than ready to sling in his direction, especially Edelman. Yeah. And he took it in stride. I give him credit for that.
Yeah, for sure. I actually thought he looked extremely uncomfortable with taking the shot when they all took the shot together. He everyone else seemed very cool. Bill was very much like, I don't want to do this. Get me out of here. Isn't this thing over yet? But he still, to your point, was still a good sport.